Cool beans. So what's this piece of paper you got me?
We'll get to it. Ready?
Yep.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Darkives. I'm Jamie talking to Leo.
And I'm Leo listening to Jamie.
And this week we are going to be getting into one of the most famous stories coming out of the westward migration, the Donner Party.
Everybody knows the Donner Party.
Everybody knows the Donner Party, but hopefully we can still learn something new today from it. The year is 1846, and a man named Lansford W. Hastings has proclaimed a wonderful thing to the people of Missouri who were traveling west to California in search of a better life. He claimed to have found a new and faster way to California, cutting through the Great Salt Lake Desert. While the people who left early didn't choose to allow him to guide them, some groups leaving later than they should have chose his time-saving path, and he was set to be the guide of this journey. So one of the unfortunate groups who chose to allow him to lead them was the Donner Reed Party, which consisted of 87 people, 29 men, 15 women, and 43 children, along with 23 oxen-led wagons containing just, foods and supplies, things like that. Leading the charge of this party were brothers George and Jacob Donner, accompanied by James Reed and all the families that came with them. The journey west wasn't necessarily a straightforward path like the name the California Trail would suggest, which was one of the trails. The Oregon Trail was an established route, which I'm sure many of our American listeners have heard of.
Or played the game.
Exactly, that's where we've heard of it from.
If you're old. Like me. With the gout.
The California Trail actually split into different routes getting there. Now, most parties left from Independence, Missouri around the end of April to avoid spring conditions like rain causing flooding, but also they wanted to ensure that there was enough grass to feed the animals that they were bringing with them. Leaving too late would result in being stuck in the Sierra Nevadas in the early winter with the heavy snow. So there was a very narrow window that these people would leave during to avoid heavy spring conditions, but also heavy winter conditions. Now, keeping in mind this little window, the Donner Reed Party set off from Springfield, Illinois around mid-April to make their way into Independence.
Hey everybody, Leo from the editing room here. I just wanted to clarify that Jamie meant to say that most people took off near the end of April, and the Donner Reed Party didn't take off until mid-May, so they were a little late to the game.
Not great timing. One of the people in the group actually wrote...
When did they usually take off? I'm sorry.
They left around the end of April from Independence, Missouri.
Hey everybody, Leo from the editing room again. I don't know how, but I understood what she was getting at. So just for clarification again, most people took off around the end of April. The Donner Reed Party took off mid-May. Now back to the show. Okay, so they're a little late on the trail.
They're leaving a little late, yes. One of the people in the group actually wrote, quote, "I am beginning to feel alarmed at the tardiness of our movements and fearful that winter will find us in the snowy mountains of California," end quote.
It do.
It sure do. Regardless, though, they joined a main wagon trail and continued their journey out west. Now, the group actually made decent time getting to Laramie, Wyoming in just about 6 weeks, arriving in late July, where they covered 650 miles or about 1,050 kilometers.
That doesn't seem like bad time at all.
No, they're making decent time right now.
Yeah, they're just on the other side of the mountain right now. If they're in Wyoming, they're getting close.
Yeah, not too bad. But here, though, they broke off from the main wagon trail on July 20th. The main wagon trail would go north toward Fort Hall in Idaho to travel the rest of the way using the well-established Oregon Trail. The Donner Reed Party, however, decided to follow the Hastings Cutoff, which is what, obviously, Hastings named his little quick trip through the desert. Despite warnings that James Reed had previously received telling him not to follow this path, like somebody else had told him, hey, don't fucking follow this. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Hastings is full of shit.
Hastings is full of shit. Despite this, though, they decided to go southwest toward Fort Bridger, which is still in Wyoming. On July 31st, they had officially made their way to the beginning of the cutoff. Hastings had claimed that this path would shave over 300 miles or 480 kilometers from the journey, but obviously I'm not telling this story because this was a roaring success.
It was a roaring failure.
It was a gigantic failure. This path that Hastings had put the group on would make them travel through some of the most inhospitable and also mostly untraveled parts of the country. Hastings was actually on his first time going through this journey, just a little bit ahead of the Donner Reed party. He was leading another group of people through this for the first time.
Okay, so same time both parties are on this trail.
Yes, but he is just a little bit ahead of them.
Okay.
When the Donner Reed party arrived at Weber Canyon, which is in Utah and just north of Salt Lake City, they found a note from Hastings saying that the way ahead was actually much more difficult than he had thought, and he asked them to make camp to wait for him to return with directions for an easier path through this.
Okay, so he rode ahead. So I'm guessing the Donner party caught up with Hastings' group, and they're all camping while Hastings is off on his own doing his thing?
No, Hastings just left a note for them. Just saying, hey, the route ahead is pretty difficult. Why don't you guys wait here? And I'll send word back of an easier way to get through.
Oh, so him and his whole party is gone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. After 8 days, however, there was still no word from Hastings. So the group sent a messenger to go find him to ask, what the hell's up? Days are going by and time is of the essence.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Jon Snow.
Yeah, it's very Game of Thrones. We can't sit around and wait here. Days later, the messenger returned with a message to take another trail. They did, but unfortunately, it would turn out that this route was even more difficult than if they had just gone ahead through the canyon like originally planned.
Fun times.
Yeah, from the beginning, Hastings kind of set them up for failure. I don't think it was malicious in any way. I don't believe that this was planned, but he really fucked them.
He was just big fishing.
Yeah.
I know a way.
Yeah. So if the Donner Reed party had just gone through this canyon like they were supposed to, it would have been an easier journey than this little bass-ackwards way that Hastings sent them on. Here they had to actually cut down trees to make a travelable path, and even then, the ground was rocky and filled with boulders. So they are very literally forging their own path through this direction.
Bushwhacking.
Yeah, very much. Like, time is running out and they have to get out and axe down trees. This little side quest would end up costing them about 2 weeks of time. And on August 30th, they arrived at the Great Salt Lake Desert, where they came upon another note left by Hastings for them. Now, this one assured the group that they would be able to cross the desert in just 2 days' time, but much like their journey has already been, this would not be, and this one would be another setback. Crossing the desert actually ended up taking them 5 days after they lost dozens of cattle and had to abandon several of their wagons. Now, can you imagine that? You are in a desert. How the hell do you lose a cow? There's not a lot of terrain to deal with there.
Well, cattle are notorious for running. I mean, if they get spooked, they'll take off.
I know, but could you imagine? You're just watching this cow trot miles in front of you because it's a desert. It's just a wasteland. It's not like they're getting lost in the forest. Hey, Jethro? Is that our cows wandering away?
Well, Maribel. Yep, that looked like some cows walking away.
That's not a mirage, right? Like, that's really our cows wandering off into the death desert?
They're just like 50 yards away from us. I mean, yeah, they're just walking away.
Okay, well, are you gonna go get them?
Well, I don't know if I'm gonna get them. I mean, are you gonna get them?
I can't. I simply can't. I have to stay here with the children.
Yeah, I think they'll just come back.
They'll probably come back.
They'll just come back, yeah.
They know where their food and water is.
They're not coming back.
How are these wagons gonna be pulled anywhere?
God damn it, Maribel. Cows don't pull wagons. We'll just leave them behind. It's fine. They'll figure it out. Yeah, but I mean, you're in a desert, so resources are precious. You're already behind the 8 ball. If you're in Utah, you're getting close. You just gotta go over the mountain.
Just gotta get there. They made it over the Wasatch Mountains. They made it through the Rockies. They were doing okay, is what I'll say. By the time the party reached the Humboldt River, which is where the cutoff joined the main California trail, the group had added about a month of time longer than if they had just stayed on the previously established routes.
Scenic route.
Yeah, they took the long way around. They arrived to this main area in late September, and now time is running out extremely fast for the group. Now, a quick side note here. On October 5th, James Reed and another member of the party got into a bit of a scrap, and this only ended when Reed stabbed the other man to death.
It's one way to do it.
Yeah, that'll stop the argument real quick, huh? While the group initially suggested that Reed be actually hanged for this murder, he was only exiled from the group and forced to go on horseback while his family stayed with the main Donner Party.
All right, and there he goes.
Yeah, so
he trots off, not to be doomed with the rest of them.
yes, we will come back to James, but he has been exiled. So he's gone. The rest of the group is still going to truck forward, including his entire family. As the group begins their ascent into the Sierra Nevada mountains, some members of the Paiute Native American tribe killed some of their oxen, and the group was forced to abandon almost all personal possessions outside of necessities to take some of the burden off the people and the remaining livestock. So we're heading up into the mountains with not a lot of supplies now, and we're down even more oxen. October 31st, they came to an area now known as Donner Pass and came into the thing they had been dreading the most. Snow.
It's a killer if you're not ready for it.
And this group is certainly not ready. The group was forced to set up makeshift cabins, and they wanted to try and wait out the snow, hoping that, it would stop falling and they could just keep going. The group kind of got separated, and the Donners had actually been delayed due to a wagon problem, so they had to set up camp just a few miles away. They weren't too far, but they also were not all together at this point.
Separated and snowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And unfortunately for them, waiting was the worst thing that they could have done, because for the next 8 days, the snow continued to fall. At this time, a man named Patrick Breen began a journal of the events, and they are some of the only written account that we have from the winter that the group spent trapped and snowed in. Now, Leo, I gave you a little script here.
Yes, I have it right here.
And I would like if you could read the journal entries from Patrick Breen, starting in November and ending in December. I do also want to preface this. The grammar and the spelling is a little weird because these are the quotes from the journal, so I didn't alter it. So, heads up on that. But Leo, would you mind reading?
Where's he from?
He is Irish. Feel free to not do an Irish accent.
November 20th.
I'm so sorry, Ireland.
November 20th, his journal begins by saying that they had arrived on the 31st of October to find the area covered in snow. And after a few unsuccessful attempts to pass, they built a shanty where they resigned to spending the winter in the mountains. I'm going to go a little grizzled for him.
Mm-hmm.
November 29, Still snowing now, about 3 feet deep. Killed my last oxen today and will skin them tomorrow.
He's Australian. Okay.
Was that Australian?
A little bit, but I love it. Keep it going. Keep it going.
December 1st. So too long.
I'm so sorry, Ireland.
December 1st. Snow about 5.5 feet or 6 deep. Difficult to get wood. Our cattle all killed, but 3 or 4 of them. The horses and the Stanton's mules gone, and cattle supposed lost in the snow. No hopes of finding them alive.
All right, beautiful. I'm going to cut you off for just a second. On December 15th, there is the first confirmed death of a man named Bayless Williams, who was an employee of the Reed family. He had died from malnutrition. On December 16th, 10 men and 5 women made some snowshoes and set off to walk to the settlements in California. Just like James Reed, we are going to circle back on them in a little bit. Now, will you continue with the December 17th journal entry?
December 17th. Milton Noah went to Donna. 8 days since, not returned yet. Think they got lost in the snow. December 21st. Milt got back last night from Dono's camp. Sad news. Jake Dono, Sam Shoemaker, Reinhardt, and Smith are dead. The rest of them in low situation. Snowed all night.
Beautiful pause. So we are now seeing more and more deaths occurring between the groups. During this time, the party are eating what is left of the livestock, dogs, and even resorted to eating boiled animal hides, bones, twigs, leaves, and bark.
I'll have me some of that.
Though the inevitable did come, they turned to cannibalism.
You know me.
We know you. We all know you.
In this situation, it's not hard.
You know what they didn't eat, though?
What didn't they eat?
Dirt.
Yeah.
Should've.
That's silly.
Should've.
They got all the water they can boil in snow.
Yes.
And all the food they can eat in people.
The animal...
Dropping like flies.
Yeah, and they were. The animal hides, I read that they, when boiled down, turned into a very unsavory goop type thing, like a goo, and that's what they were eating. It would appear that they tried so hard for so long to supplement their diets with literally anything but each other. And that kind of makes it more sad to me. Like, they were dying from malnutrition because they were trying so hard to avoid eating their dead.
I thought there was something where one of the few guys left actually had provisions still, but he chose to eat the people because they tasted better.
Well, we will get into more of the cannibalism.
See, I wasn't wrong about that.
According to the History Channel, they estimate that roughly half of the group engaged in cannibalism, though this number is disputed, especially by descendants of the group members. Okay, so the group that left on the 10th, remember them? The men and the women that set off? Well, on the way over the mountain, 8 of the men died. This group ate the bodies in order to survive, to keep going. And of the 10 men and 5 women, only 2 men, but all the women survived. And they made it to Fort Sutter in California. This little group was actually called the Forlorn Hope Party. And it was taken with 2 Native American tribe members named Salvador and Luis. But when the group started engaging in cannibalism, the natives ran off. They were like, fuck, no, we're not doing this. We're not eating you. The 2 men were later found exhausted and laying in the snow, however, where they were promptly shot and then eaten. This marks the only confirmed time that murder was used as a means to eat.
If you can't beat them,
eat them.
you said it.
Now, I'm going to toss it over to you again. Would you mind reading from Patrick Breen's journal again?
You got it. Gotta relax my face and get sloppy. January 17th. Provisions scarce. Hides are the only article we depend on. We have a little meat, eh? May God send us help. January 21st. John Batiste and Denton came this morning with Eliza. She won't eat hides. Mrs. Reed sent her back to live or die. On them, Milt got his toes froze, and Donos are all well.
You're certainly doing something with this voice acting.
It's different every time I say something.
Yep, we're having fun here. I'm going to briefly interrupt you again, and just to say that a rescue party set out on January 31st of 1847, thanks to the Forlorn Hope Party that reached California. This rescue party would reach Lake Truckee, where the party was stranded. They would reach it on February 18th. Now, back to our lovely voice actor. Can you finish out the journal entries that we have here?
February 5th. Peggy very uneasy for fear we shall all perish with hunger. We have but little meat left, and only part of 3 hides. February 26th. The Donos told the California folks that they commenced to eat the dead people 4 days ago. If they did not succeed that day, or for the next in finding their cattle under 10 or 12 feet of snow. March 1st. There has 10 men arrived this morning from Bear Valley with provisions. We are to start in 2 or 3 days.
Beautiful. So from Patrick, we learned that the Donners had commenced in cannibalism. They were freely admitting to it after losing even more of their remaining livestock in the snow. The rescue party that reached Lake Truckee was able to get 23 people, 17 of which were children, though some of the people died on the journey back to California. While more rescue crews were sent out, thanks to illness, injury, or just flat out weakness from malnutrition, not everyone that was able to be rescued survived, and some were past the point of even being able to rescue. The last man to be rescued was a man named Louis Keysburg, and he had survived using cannibalism and was finally taken out on April 21st. He was there from October 31st to April 21st. That is a very long time.
That's the whole winter.
Yeah. Yes, you're 1000% correct. He spent literally the entire winter out there. Depending on sources, only 45 or 47 people survived this journey.
That's actually more than I thought survived the journey.
It was about a little around half of the people died. You know who did survive, though? James Reed, the murderer.
Yeah, the guy who was banished.
Mm-hmm. He actually made it to the settlements in California and assisted in the rescue parties to get the Donner Reed party out.
But all of his kids were dead.
Shockingly, he and his whole family survived.
Oh, damn.
He was one of the only intact families throughout this whole thing. The other half of this Donner Reed party, being the Donners, George and Jacob Donner, both of their wives and 4 of their children died during this excursion. Though this whole troubling affair didn't dampen all the spirits of the people who did it. One of the survivors wrote a letter to her cousin saying, quote, "I have not wrote you half of the trouble, but I have wrote you enough to let you know what trouble is. Don't let this dishasten anybody. Never take no cutoffs and hurry along as fast as you can." End quote.
Yep, don't make my mistake.
But get your ass out here.
Yep.
Today, Truckee Lake is now called Donner Lake, and the route is now called Donner Pass. The 80 in California is actually an interstate highway that follows the old wagon trails and crests on Donner Summit, though the DOT, the Department of Transportation, does note that even today, the highway is sometimes closed in the winter due to heavy snowfall and hazardous conditions. The Donner Party has inspired many films, songs, documentaries, and even a band from San Francisco called Donner Party. In 2003 and 2004, excavations were done at the camp where more than 16,000 bone fragments were unearthed, including rabbits, rodents, deer, horses, oxen, cattle, and dogs.
No people.
No people. In 2010, it was actually announced that they had not been able to find any human bones or evidence of cannibalism. Though, it is also noted that the lack of evidence does not mean it didn't happen. They state that the extensive accounts from rescue parties and the survivors themselves lend enough credence to the legend of cannibalism.
Couple questions.
Got a couple answers.
The two natives that helped the first party that headed out of there.
Mm-hmm. The Forlorn Hope expedition?
Yeah, were the natives just part of their crew, or did they pick them up along the way?
They just picked them up along the way. They saw a bunch of white people doing their best and decided to try and guide them over.
And the extractions from the camp. I feel like you ran through that kind of quick, but I thought there was some real drama there leaving the camp, like parents having to make choices on who to leave and who goes because they could only send so many people at a time.
This again is where I kind of run into problems, where I try and only use reliable sources and not things that I just remember from over the years. But I will say that I also remember stories like that from this expedition where there were a lot of hard decisions being made based on who was able to actually travel up and out with these rescue crews. And that did lead to some people being left behind and eventually dying while waiting for more parties to come back.
Yeah, I just thought like the second to last expedition. This is a tale that I remember. Like the second to last expedition, a father leaves and had to leave some of his children behind with Keensburg. And I remember him having to leave them there. And then when they came back, the kids were dead.
Yes, and I'm actually very glad that you brought this up because these are stories that I have heard as well. But in my research using, the more reputable sources that I can find, I was unable to find these stories, but they are ones that I have also heard where this man killed another party's children in order to sustain him to wait for the next rescue party.
Yeah, it's funny because I heard that he claimed that the children died of natural causes and he ate them, and he actually had provisions still left over. I can't remember if they left like oxtails or something for him, but he preferred the taste of humans over the oxtails, so he was like, they're dead anyway, I might as well eat them, was his story.
Yeah.
You didn't find anything on that story?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. But it's also one that I have heard. So I don't know if it's just long-standing ooky spooky tales or if for whatever reason I was just unable to find it in my multiple sources. There was also another tale that I remember hearing of a man who fell asleep and his hand fell into the fire. And the group pulled his hand out like, oh my God, don't. But it fell back in again somehow. And this time they just let it burn because it smelled good and they wanted to eat this charred hand. So take these last little stories with a grain of salt, but seeing as how we've both heard at least some variation, maybe there is some truth to it.
Not verifiable. Not
from the sources that I could find. But either way, I'm glad you brought it up so that way we could speak on it. Just off the cuff here.
Cool. Nice little refresher on the Donner Party, because it's been a while since I've heard anybody talk about them.
It is an extremely famous tale here in the United States. Obviously, I can't speak worldwide, but here in the US, pretty near everybody's heard of the Donner Party. I mean, it is the most famous tale to come out of, the westward expansion. But with that in mind, hope our friends here in the US learned something new, and our friends all over the world. Hope this was mostly new to you.
Hey everybody, Leo from the editing room again. I was just curious, after me and Jamie were talking about the different stories we've heard that we couldn't find verifiable sources for, I was curious what stories y'all have heard about the Donner Party. It'd be interesting to see some of the campfire stories or less verifiable stories that people have heard, not only around the nation, but possibly around the world, about this super famous group of travelers. With that, we'll get back to the outro.
You guys can follow us on our socials or send us an email, both of which are linked below in the show notes.
And as always, you can always support. You guys can support the show by leaving a rating or a comment on whatever platform you guys are listening on.
And with that, we thank you for listening this week, and we will see you guys next week for another episode of the Darkives.
See you guys next week.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the 30 voices I used.
You'll narrow it down.
That was my first time voice acting,
I loved it. I thought you did great.